Good day to you people. My name is the Welsh Assassin, otherwise known as Josh. You may know me from my good friend's channel, Wasn't My Fault. So, this is my first video on YouTube, and I just want to say that this first couple dozen of videos will be about my third year in college. I want to show off my third year of college to the world and give inspiration and knowledge from what I have been taught. To whoever ends up watching, it will be a great appreciation. I am also accepting any critics or people who would want to share their knowledge and points and helps me in the right direction. So please, do not be afraid to comment if you have any questions or want to help. And so finally, I just want to quickly say, after the first dozen of videos, I may or may not continue with YouTube and slowly stop posting gaming videos and possibly vlogs in the future. So, stay tuned. And without further distractions, I hope you enjoy my third year of college. What is liminal space? Liminal spaces are the subject of an internet aesthetic, portraying empty or abandoned places that appear eerie, forlorn, and often surreal. So, as you can see, here are some photos that inquire liminal space. We have two corridors. We have a corridor in the game. We have a corridor from the film The Shining. And here we've got a flooded subway in New York. Then we've got a cinema room, a corridor from Five Nights at Freddy's, and a typical American high school corridor. So, Resident Evil is one of these games that has liminal space all over it. So, Resident Evil's entire game franchise is a horror-based game, so it makes sense for each game to cramp the player up into a small room or a large corridor with many objects or bioweapons. The original 3 Resident Evil titles have the iconic camera angles that make the liminal space more effective as it contributes to the horror, either making the room look large but the room is actually quite small, or making the character look large with the room being small. The camera angle is one of the key features that make the liminal space possible. Resident Evil 1 Remake, in this game, and in this image, the camera is angled at the front of the corridor just before the corner on the left. The character is made to look larger than he is, with a cupboard on the left of the image makes the room full and leaves anticipation for what may lie beyond the camera or what loot is near. The colour and gradient of the corridor is quite dull, using grey, black and white to show the gloominess of the location and making the character feel concealed. Even the player can feel trapped, wondering what will happen or what is to come. So that's the cupboard on the left, and this is the gradient colour. You've got obviously the black, white, the beige and brown, and that single light in the forefront and the single light in the background behind your character. Resident Evil 2. This image shows us the danger, tightness and liminal space in one. The camera angle is making the Tyrant X look humongous compared to the character. Being such a small corridor, this clearly shows us liminal space at its finest, as there is only a very small gap with chance to pass the Tyrant. Around the character is a dark shadow, further showing us that the situation the character is in is very tight, with the colours being light and vibrant near you to give you hope, but the darkness around tells you otherwise. By that description I mean the character is wearing quite vibrant colours. The wall is golden white, but obviously surrounded by each corner. On the left and on the right you've got darkness. Pursuing you in front is a big tyrant, a bioweapon. And with the camera angle it kind of shows how much anticipation there may be in that current encounter. Resident Evil 3. This location provides the player with a lot of information, showing us the vibrant colours of an abandoned police station with wreckage surrounding the area. With the camera perched up it gives us a brutal view on our character's size compared to the rest of the location. Also, in this location, the character has an extremely limited area to move, as it is a very thin and narrow area. By this image, what I mean is that this road here is all we have to move as we play as this character. And by the colours, it shows quite vibrant colours. However, this is all attracted to the eye, but the mind always subjugated by the single pathway you have, as it is very narrow. So, we are now moving on to the topic of corridors. Corridors are a particular thing. Some small, some large, and some huge. Most corridors are a long stretch from one door to another, and so on and so forth. The thing with corridors is that they look clear without anyone in them, but with countless and countless of other people in them, the more tighter it gets to navigate through. When it comes to films and games, corridors are primarily used for horror or a realistic film, such as a scene where a murderer is chasing the innocent through a school hall, or a monster creeping up behind you in a dark and broken school. The possibilities are endless. As you can see, this is a generic school hall. This generic school hall looks like the most schools in any school in most of the world. The most generic school halls are the most effective to show liminal space. The Shining. This corridor is the most recognizable in film, as it is the corridor the most frightening part of the film is captured in. This is The Shining. The Shining makes the corridor feel empty but very concealed at the same time. The continuous of the corridor and the multiple directions end up making the actors feel very claustrophobic. Five Nights at Freddy's. A corridor that is well known. This corridor, the player cannot really go down, but can see what is in the corridor. The whole premise of this corridor is that there is a camera. You can see magical animatronics who are out for blood. The player can see their slow movement in each camera. However, this camera is directly next to the character's room. This angle makes the room darker. By that, I mean that the camera is right above the entrance to the character's room, and each camera angle in Five Nights at Freddy's is positioned to make you feel like you have the disadvantage by putting you in a smaller space, by making you feel tight and concealed, and every time something moves, it makes that a whole lot more tense. Other liminal spaces. These other liminal space photos are to show how much more the world consists of liminal space, not just video games, films, or certain rooms or locations. Again, here's the flooded subway tunnel in New York. The reason why it's a liminal space is because it's adding a sense of danger with the flooding, and it is very empty, making it eerie. You feel like you're in the best part of both worlds, reality and imaginative. The flooded underground. This flooded underground shows us that there is no such way to access this underground train, as there is clearly a flood. This indicates that the space to move towards the train is exceedingly small. The cinema seats. Cinema seating is one of the most devious places for liminal space. This place is when everyone squeezes past each other and fights through everyone's legs and heads to get to their own seat. Each row consists of many seats, let alone people. Liminal space is so far too frequent in a cinema room, but will never be changed as it would cost too much. Characteristics and context research. Technology. Technology is admired by billions of humans across the world, as it helps evolve the world into the future year by year. The one thing when it comes to technology is its liminal space, and how technology has evolved to affect the changes it makes. When technology grows, its sizes and spaces change, along with it to make it more applicable and appealing. Hard drives. Hard drives are remarkably interesting. There are only a select few types of hard drives, sizes 1 TB, 2 TB, 3 TB, 4, 5, 7 and a 10 TB. There are many more sizes of TBs, but the larger ones are made for mega softwares and mega computer systems. All the TBs named above are the ones used for smaller systems such as laptops, consoles and PCs. Each TB can save data up to a certain amount. Obviously the higher TB, the better. A record player. The evolution of the record player is a remarkable thing. From a huge brass mic to being a small speaker, over the years the space on where to place a vinyl has changed so much, from needing its own standalone table to being easily fitted on a table with other stuff. Finally, the size saves so much room, lengthways and height. Phones. Phones are a huge topic. Phones have changed so many times for their own good. From the iconic family house phone, all the way to the current day where you can fold a phone in half to save space. Over the many and countless of years, the phones have come from block to as thin as a cardboard. With many sizes, the limited space for mobile phones have caused a craze worldwide. People prefer to go for a smaller version of a phone, such as an iPhone 11s and the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip, or a basic iPhone 11 and a basic Samsung. There are many ways to save spaces when it comes to modern mobile phones, unlike the old blocked versions or weird dial phones. Now that I have given insight into what Liminal Space has, I will now talk about it. Liminal spaces are the subject of an internet aesthetic portraying empty or abandoned places that appear eerie, forlorn and often surreal. Liminal spaces is the section between two places. Unimportant, you are in the middle space. That is the formal definition. The informal definition is an area that is eerie or abandoned in some way. Liminal space is also a place of observation. Like you are in a viewing gallery, watching a football match, but without the crowd. Liminal space can be described as going through a change or going from place to place, from one thing to the next. Most places around the world have liminal space, such as the Sahara Desert, the oceans of the world, and the skies of our planet. All these locations have liminal space. In a situation where you are stuck in the middle of the desert, it is just you and you alone, with the grainy sand and the hot days and chilling nights. It is just empty and one person alone. Extremely limited spaces to travel besides the direction you walk in. The same could be said being stranded at sea, you alone with the waves not knowing what is beneath you. Most people do not know what liminal space is. So I hope when people read all of this, they get a slight idea or end up knowing what liminal space actually is. Broadly, the term liminal space is used to describe a place or state of change or transition. This may be physical, example a doorway, or psychological, example the period of adolescence. Liminal space imagery often depicts this sense of in-between, capturing transitional places such as stairways, roads or corridors or hotels, unsettlingly devoid of people. The aesthetic may convey moods of eeriness, surrealness, nostalgia or sadness, and a licked responsive of both comfort and unease. Liminal space images soon gained popularity across the internet, and by November 2022, a subreddit called r/liminal space had over 500,000 members. The Liminal Space photo posting at Space Liminal Bot on Twitter had accrued over 1.2 million followers, and the TikTok hashtag Liminal Spaces hashtag had over 2 billion views. We are now heading on to my form on Liminal Space. I had sent out a doc form and I had my classmates respond. So, number 1. Describe in your own words what is liminal space. Someone said a place that is a void of any other living thing, or a place that can give you claustrophobia. Person number 2 said liminal space is the section between two places, neither here nor there. You're in the middle space. That is the formal definition. The informal definition is an area that is eerie or abandoned in some way. Person number 3. Liminal space is subject of an internet aesthetic that shows empty or abandoned places that look empty, also eerie. Person 4. An aesthetic portraying empty or abandoned seemingly bizarre or surreal. Person 5. Liminal space can be the area that is often popular, being viewed at in a different perspective, like busy schools or shopping centres. That's empty. Seeing these locations deserted can make us feel nostalgic or experience deja vu. There are other versions of liminal space, but this is the one I thought of first. My next question was, from what you know, what has liminal space? Person 1 said stairs, corridors and sewers. Person 2 said corridors or area similar is liminal space. They are the in-between places. Person number 3 said a room, up room. Person number 4, underground train station. Number 5, locations or mind and technology. My third question was, please name 3 landmarks that have liminal space. Person number 1 said Stonehenge. Person number 2 also said Stonehenge. Person number 3 said a cathedral. Person number 4 said airport lobbies or train stations. And person number 5, she was not sure. My next question was, from this list, what was most likely, or what most likely has liminal space? So you've got camera angles in Resident Evil, corridors, a flooded underground train station, a cinema room, and technology. All of them are correct. However, most people ended up going towards corridors, which is shown in the orange. My next question was, in the past 48 hours, what have you personally seen or been in that has liminal space? Some people said no, some people had an answer. Person number 2 said their hallway. Person number 3 said their home. Person number 4 said the park, and person number 5 also said their park. My next question was, do you think that we are surrounded by liminal space? The correct answer was yes, as everywhere you are on planet Earth has liminal space. The majority clearly said yes. My next question was, what is most likely to have liminal space? I put a computer game or reality. The majority went for reality, and the other half went computer games. I was expecting a 50-50 split, but obviously, like I said on this question above, reality, our planet has more liminal space than ever before. My next question was, what's one thing you think that liminal space is a key factor to, and elaborate on why? I will just leave this here for you to see, and if you want to fact check yourself, you are more than welcome. My final question is, do you consider your home to have liminal space? Obviously, this is depending on how people's homes are built and how they look. The majority said yes, and the other minority said no. On my final question, I finally said, finally, would you consider that the word claustrophobic plays a part in liminal space and why? And here are the people's responses. Thank you very much. I know this was quite formal. All my videos about my college work will be like this. I hope you enjoyed, and again, if you have any questions or you want to help me go into the right path with your knowledge, please comment down below. Thank you for watching. Until next time, this has been the Welsh Assassin. Goodbye.